Why living alone beats any relationship. Lessons from Stoic philosophy. Have you ever stopped to think about the way we romanticize relationships? We're surrounded by movies, music, and social media posts that paint this picture of finding the one as the ultimate goal in life. But what if I told you that you don't need anyone else to live a truly fulfilled and meaningful life? What if I told you that some of the wisest people in history, the Stoics, believed that solitude, not partnership, is the key to real freedom, peace, and personal growth? Now, before you roll your eyes or think, this is just another video about being single, hear me out. This isn't about bashing relationships or claiming that they don't have value. Relationships can be beautiful, no doubt about it. But there's a unique power in learning to stand on your own, to thrive in your own company, and to find happiness without relying on anyone else. The Stoics, those ancient philosophers like Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, and Seneca, knew this better than anyone. They believed that the foundation of a good life isn't found in external things, like relationships, wealth, or status, but within ourselves. And let's be real, living alone often gets a bad reputation. People think it's lonely, boring, or even a sign that you're missing out. But what if it's the exact opposite? What if living alone could be the ultimate life hack? A way to unlock your inner strength, find clarity, and discover a peace of mind that no relationship could ever give you. In today's video, we're diving into 9 reasons why living alone beats any relationship, according to Stoic wisdom. These aren't just random reasons thrown together. They're deeply rooted in ancient philosophy, yet they're more relevant than ever in today's chaotic, fast-paced world. By the end of this video, you'll see solitude not as something to fear, but as a gift that can help you master your life. So, whether you're single by choice, newly navigating life on your own, or just curious about what the Stoics have to say, stick around. You might just come away with a whole new perspective on why living alone might be the best decision you'll ever make. Ready to explore the freedom and strength that solitude can bring? Let's dive in. Reason 1. Freedom to prioritize your inner growth. Let me ask you something. How often do you truly put yourself first? Not in a selfish, self-centered way, but in a way that allows you to focus on becoming the best version of yourself. The truth is, relationships, no matter how loving or supportive, require compromise. They demand time, energy, and emotional investment. And sometimes that means putting your personal growth on the back burner. The Stoics had a lot to say about this. Marcus Aurelius, a Roman emperor and one of the greatest Stoic philosophers, once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Think about that for a second. True power doesn't come from what's around you. It comes from within. But how can you access that power if you're constantly distracted by the demands of a relationship? When you live alone, you have the freedom to prioritize your own inner growth. You can dedicate your time to developing your skills, mastering your craft, and diving deep into the things that truly matter to you. Want to spend hours reading, learning, or meditating without interruption? Go for it. Feel like taking that solo trip or enrolling in a class you've always been curious about? Nothing's stopping you. Living alone allows you to create a lifestyle centered around self-improvement. You don't have to worry about whether your choices align with someone else's schedule, needs, or preferences. It's just you and your goals, with no compromises to hold you back. And this isn't just about ticking off boxes on a self-help checklist. It's about becoming someone you're proud of, someone who's in tune with their values, their purpose, and their potential. The Stoics believed that the ultimate goal in life was to live in accordance with nature, which meant fulfilling your unique role and striving for excellence. When you live alone, you create the perfect environment to pursue that. Now, let me be clear. This doesn't mean you can't grow while in a relationship. Of course you can. But living alone accelerates that process in a way that's hard to achieve when you're balancing your time and energy with someone else. It's like stepping into a laboratory where your only experiment is yourself. You're free to test, explore, and evolve without any outside influence. So, if you've ever felt like you've lost sight of who you are or what you want, maybe it's time to embrace solitude. Use it as a tool to reconnect with yourself, rediscover your passions, and grow into the person you're meant to be. That's the kind of freedom living alone offers, a freedom to focus on your inner growth without distractions. Reason 2. Independence from external validation. Now let's talk about something we're all guilty of seeking at one point or another. External validation. We live in a world where likes, comments, and the approval of others can feel like the currency of self-worth. And let's face it, relationships can amplify this. How often do people find themselves bending over backward to gain the approval of a partner? How many times do we let our happiness depend on someone else's opinion of us? The Stoics would say that this is a recipe for misery. Epictetus, one of the most well-known Stoic philosophers, famously said, "It is not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." In other words, your peace of mind shouldn't depend on external factors, not on circumstances, not on material possessions, and certainly not on other people's validation. Living alone is like hitting the reset button on all that noise. When you're on your own, you're no longer trying to meet anyone else's expectations. You don't have to wonder if you're good enough for someone else's love or approval. Instead, you're forced to look inward and ask, what do I think of myself? Am I proud of who I am? This shift can be uncomfortable at first, but it's incredibly liberating. You start to realize that you don't need anyone else to validate your worth. Your happiness, your confidence, and your sense of self become things you generate from within. That's independence on a whole new level. The Stoics believe that true contentment comes from mastering what's in your control: your thoughts, your actions, and your reactions. Everything else, including the opinions of others, is outside your control and therefore not worth worrying about. Living alone gives you the perfect opportunity to practice this principle. You can focus on what truly matters: being a person of integrity, cultivating wisdom, and finding peace in your own skin. And here's the best part. Once you stop chasing external validation, you become unshakable. You don't need someone else to tell you that you're enough, because you already know it. This kind of confidence is magnetic. It draws people toward you not because you need them, but because you've become a person worth knowing. So, if you're tired of feeling like your self-worth is tied to someone else's opinion, living alone might just be the answer. It's a chance to break free from the cycle of seeking approval and start building a life that's rooted in your own values, not anyone else's. And that, my friend, is a kind of freedom no one can take away from you. Reason 3. Peace of mind without drama. Let's be honest, relationships can be messy. Even the healthiest ones come with disagreements, compromises, and the occasional drama. And sure, some people thrive in the give and take of a relationship, but for others it can feel exhausting. That constant push and pull, the emotional highs and lows, doesn't it sometimes make you crave peace? The Stoics would argue that peace of mind is one of life's highest virtues. Seneca, another renowned Stoic philosopher, said, "Tranquility can't be grasped except by those who have reached an unwavering and firm power of judgment. The rest constantly fall and rise in their decisions, wavering in a state of alternately rejecting and accepting things." In other words, peace comes from clarity and stability, not from being caught up in emotional turbulence. When you live alone, you create an environment where peace of mind becomes the norm, not the exception. There's no one to argue with over small things, like where to eat or how to spend a weekend. No passive-aggressive remarks to decode or long emotional conversations that leave you drained. It's just you, your thoughts, and the serenity of knowing that your day is entirely your own. Now, I'm not saying relationships are inherently dramatic, but the simple truth is, when two people come together, emotions can run high. Misunderstandings happen. Differences in opinion crop up. Living alone removes all of that from the equation. You have the mental space to focus on what truly matters to you without getting sidetracked by someone else's moods or needs. And here's the thing. Peace of mind isn't just about avoiding drama. It's about cultivating a state of calm that allows you to think clearly, make better decisions, and handle life's challenges with grace. The Stoics believed that a tranquil mind is a powerful mind. When you're not constantly putting out emotional fires, you have the clarity to reflect, grow, and make choices that align with your values. Living alone also gives you the space to establish routines and habits that bring you peace. Whether it's a quiet morning with a cup of coffee, an evening spent journaling, or simply enjoying the silence of your home, these small moments add up to a life that feels steady and centered. And honestly, doesn't that sound refreshing? If you've ever found yourself drained by the emotional roller coaster of relationships, solitude might be the solution you didn't know you needed. It's not about running away from people. It's about choosing yourself and the peace that comes with living life on your own terms. Reason 4. Time to cultivate your passions. Here's a question. How often do you set aside time to pursue your passions? And I mean really dive into them. Not just dabbling here and there, but committing to the things that light you up inside. For a lot of people, the answer is not often enough, especially when they're in a relationship. Relationships, while rewarding, often demand compromise. Maybe your partner doesn't share your enthusiasm for your hobbies. Maybe your time together takes precedence over your creative pursuits. It's not anyone's fault. It's just the nature of sharing your life with someone else. But when you live alone, the story changes completely. The Stoics believed that a meaningful life is one spent in pursuit of excellence. Epictetus once said, "Know first who you are, and then adorn yourself accordingly." In other words, figure out what makes you uniquely you, and then pour yourself into it fully. Living alone gives you the time and space to do just that. Think about it. When you're on your own, your schedule is entirely yours to design. Want to spend hours painting, writing, or learning a new skill? You can. Feel like dedicating weekends to a passion project or exploring a career change? No one's stopping you. Living alone means there's no one to question how you use your time. It's all up to you. And here's where the Stoic wisdom comes in. Pursuing your passions isn't just about filling your time or being productive. It's about aligning your life with your true nature. The Stoics believed that everyone has a unique role to play in the world, and the closer you get to fulfilling that role, the more content and fulfilled you'll feel. When you live alone, you can zero in on discovering what that role is, and then dedicate yourself to it wholeheartedly. This isn't just about big, lofty goals either. It's about the joy of doing something simply because it brings you happiness. Maybe it's gardening, cooking, playing an instrument, or even just reading books that inspire you. Living alone gives you the freedom to prioritize these things without worrying about whether someone else is on board. And let's not forget the creativity that often comes with solitude. Have you ever noticed how some of the world's greatest artists, writers, and thinkers spent large chunks of their lives alone? Virginia Woolf called it having a room of one's own. Nikola Tesla spent much of his life in solitude, dreaming up ideas that changed the world. There's something about being alone that unlocks a deeper well of creativity and focus. So, if you've ever felt like your passions have taken a back seat, living alone could be your chance to bring them back to the forefront. Use this time to dive into the things that make you come alive. Not only will you feel more fulfilled, but you'll also be living out one of the Stoics' most important teachings: to live in harmony with your true self. Reason 5. Stronger emotional resilience. Let's face it, life isn't always easy. It throws challenges at us when we least expect it, and how we handle those challenges often determines the quality of our lives. Now here's the thing. Relationships can provide support during tough times, but they can also act as a crutch. When you're constantly leaning on someone else to carry you through the storm, you may miss out on an opportunity to develop one of the most valuable traits a person can have: emotional resilience. The Stoics were all about resilience. They believed that hardship wasn't something to avoid, but something to embrace as an opportunity to grow stronger. Epictetus said, "Difficulties show a person's character. Therefore, when trouble comes, think of yourself as a wrestler whom God, like a trainer, has paired with a tough young man. For what purpose? To turn you into an Olympic victor. But this is not accomplished without sweat." In other words, challenges aren't setbacks. They're training grounds for becoming stronger. Living alone is one of the best ways to build that kind of strength. When you're on your own, you're responsible for everything. You can't rely on someone else to fix your problems, comfort you when things go wrong, or handle life's curveballs for you. It's all on you. And that might sound scary, but it's actually one of the most empowering things you'll ever experience. Imagine this. A stressful situation comes up, and instead of calling someone for help or reassurance, you pause, take a deep breath, and figure it out on your own. Maybe it's as small as learning to cook a meal from scratch, or as big as handling a financial setback. Each time you face and overcome a challenge solo, you prove to yourself that you're capable. That's how emotional resilience is built, one victory at a time. The Stoics believed that the key to resilience lies in controlling what's within your power and accepting what's not. When you live alone, you have the space and silence to practice this. You can reflect on your struggles without distraction, develop strategies for handling them, and cultivate a mindset that thrives in adversity. And here's the kicker. Once you build that resilience, it stays with you no matter where life takes you. Whether you eventually enter a relationship, start a family, or face challenges in your career, that inner strength becomes your superpower. You'll no longer feel the need to lean on others as much because you'll know you've got what it takes to stand on your own. Living alone isn't about isolation. It's about preparation. It's about equipping yourself with the emotional armor to face whatever life throws at you. And trust me, once you've built that resilience, you'll look back and thank yourself for taking the time to grow stronger on your own. Reason 6. Control over your environment. Here's something we don't think about enough. Our environment plays a huge role in shaping our thoughts, emotions, and overall well-being. The Stoics understood this deeply. They believed that we should surround ourselves with things that align with our values and create a space that fosters tranquility and clarity. When you live alone, you have complete control over your environment. And that's a game changer. Think about it. When you share a living space with someone, you're constantly negotiating. Maybe your partner's style clashes with yours, or their habits make it hard for you to stick to your routines. Maybe you're compromising on how you use shared spaces, like your living room or kitchen. While these things may seem small, they can add up and create a sense of disharmony in your daily life. Living alone eliminates all of that. You're in charge of every decision, from the decor to the energy of the space. Want to paint your walls bright yellow because it makes you happy? Go for it. Prefer a minimalist, Zen-inspired vibe with nothing but a yoga mat and a bookshelf? Done. Your space becomes a direct reflection of who you are and what you value. The Stoics believed in living simply and intentionally. Seneca advised, "Set aside a certain number of days, during which you shall be content with the scantiest and cheapest fare, with coarse and rough dress, saying to yourself the while, 'Is this the condition that I feared?'" While you don't have to go full minimalist, living alone gives you the freedom to create an environment that prioritizes simplicity and functionality. You can design your space to support your routines, focus on your goals, and eliminate distractions. And it's not just about aesthetics. It's about the energy of the space, too. When you live alone, you can control the noise level, the cleanliness, and the overall vibe of your home. If you're someone who thrives in quiet and order, you can have that without compromise. If you're more laid back and don't mind a little chaos, that's your choice too. The point is, you get to decide what works for you. Another benefit? Having your own space makes it easier to reflect and recharge. The Stoics often spoke about the importance of stepping back from the chaos of life to find clarity. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his Meditations, "People look for retreats for themselves, in the country, by the coast, or in the hills. There is nowhere that a person can find a more peaceful and trouble-free retreat than in his own mind." Living alone creates a physical retreat that supports that inner peace, a sanctuary where you can escape from the noise of the world and reconnect with yourself. So, if you've ever felt stifled by your environment or frustrated by compromises that don't align with your values, living alone might be exactly what you need. It's your chance to take full control of your surroundings and design a space that feels like home, not just physically, but mentally and emotionally too. Reason 7. Greater clarity in decision-making. Let's talk about decisions, big ones, small ones, and everything in between. How often do we second-guess ourselves, wondering whether we're making the right choice? Now, add a relationship into the mix, and suddenly, even simple decisions can feel complicated. You're not just considering what's best for you anymore. You're weighing someone else's opinions, feelings, and priorities. Living alone changes the game. Without the constant input of another person, you gain the clarity and freedom to make decisions based solely on your values and needs. The Stoics would call this living in alignment with reason. For them, rationality and clear thinking were key to living a good life. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, "If someone is able to show me that what I think or do is not right, I will happily change, for I seek the truth which never harmed anyone." The harm is to persist in one's own self-deception and ignorance. When you live alone, you have the mental space to pause, reflect, and ask yourself, what's the best course of action for me? There's no need to navigate someone else's emotions or compromise your instincts. You can approach decisions with a calm and rational mindset, weighing your options without distraction. For example, let's say you're deciding whether to take a new job in another city. In a relationship, this decision would likely involve long conversations, concerns about how it will affect your partner, and potential sacrifices. But when you live alone, the decision is yours to make. You can evaluate the opportunity based on your goals, your passions, and what aligns with your vision for your life. Another advantage of living alone is that it reduces the noise of external opinions. It's human nature to want to please the people we care about, but that can sometimes cloud our judgment. The Stoics believed that the opinions of others should not dictate our actions. Epictetus taught, "Don't explain your philosophy, embody it." When you're living alone, you're free to embody your philosophy, to live authentically without worrying about what others might think or say. And here's the thing. The more you practice making decisions independently, the better you become at trusting yourself. You'll start to notice patterns in your thinking, learn from your mistakes, and develop a deeper sense of self-confidence. This clarity spills over into every area of your life, from your career to your personal relationships, making you a stronger, more decisive person overall. Living alone doesn't mean you'll never make mistakes, of course. But it does mean that your decisions will be your own, and there's a unique kind of empowerment in that. It's a chance to build a life that reflects your values, guided by the wisdom of your own intuition and reason. Reason 8. Opportunity to strengthen relationships with others. Now, this one might sound counterintuitive. How does living alone, away from people, actually make your relationships with others stronger? The answer lies in the Stoic principle of philanthropia, or love for humanity. The Stoics believed in cultivating meaningful relationships, but not in becoming overly dependent on others for happiness or self-worth. Living alone gives you the opportunity to strengthen your connections in a more intentional and fulfilling way. Here's what I mean. When you live with someone, it's easy to take their presence for granted. You see them every day, and over time, that familiarity can dull the appreciation you have for them. But when you live alone, every interaction with friends, family, or even acquaintances becomes more intentional. You're not just seeing someone because they happen to be there. You're choosing to spend time with them. The Stoics taught that we should approach relationships with kindness, gratitude, and a sense of purpose. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Whenever you are about to find fault with someone, ask yourself the following question: what fault of mine most nearly resembles the one I am about to criticize?" Living alone gives you the time and space to reflect on your relationships, understand your role in them, and approach them with more empathy and self-awareness. Another benefit of living alone is that it allows you to recharge. If you've ever felt drained after socializing, you know how valuable alone time can be. When you live alone, you have the opportunity to rest, reset, and show up as your best self in your interactions with others. You're less likely to feel resentful or burned out because you're not constantly balancing someone else's needs with your own. Living alone also helps you set healthier boundaries. When you're in a relationship or living with others, it can be hard to carve out time for yourself. But when you live alone, you naturally learn to prioritize your own needs without guilt. This makes it easier to carry that sense of self-respect into your other relationships, allowing you to maintain a healthy balance between giving and receiving. And let's not forget the power of solitude to help you appreciate the people in your life even more. When you're used to your own company, spending time with others feels like a gift, not an obligation. You'll find yourself cherishing the moments you share with friends and loved ones, and you'll likely become a better listener and more present in your interactions. Living alone isn't about isolating yourself from the world. It's about creating a solid foundation of self-awareness and self-sufficiency so that your relationships can thrive. By prioritizing your own well-being, you're better equipped to connect with others in a way that's authentic, generous, and meaningful. Reason 9. A deep sense of inner freedom. Now we've reached the most profound reason why living alone beats any relationship. It gives you a deep sense of inner freedom, a freedom that is rooted not just in your external circumstances, but in your soul. The Stoics believe that true freedom isn't about doing whatever you want, whenever you want. Instead, it's about being free from the chains of external influences, desires, and dependencies. When you live alone, you create the perfect environment to cultivate that inner freedom. Epictetus said it best: "Is anyone master of your emotions, your fears, your desires? Then you will be a slave to whomever masters these things." Living alone gives you the space to reflect on your emotional triggers, desires, and the areas where you may still feel dependent on others for your sense of self. Without the constant presence of another person's influence, you have the opportunity to detach from those things and reclaim your autonomy. Think about it. When you live alone, every choice you make is yours. You're not bound by someone else's expectations or habits. You don't have to explain yourself or justify your decisions. You're free to create your own routines, follow your instincts, and live a life that feels true to you. This isn't just physical freedom, it's mental and emotional freedom too. The Stoics taught that the greatest freedom comes from mastering yourself. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. When you live alone, you're faced with your own thoughts and emotions in a way that's unavoidable. At first, this can be uncomfortable. It's tempting to distract ourselves with others or seek validation outside of ourselves. But over time, solitude helps you become your own anchor. Living alone allows you to explore what truly makes you happy, without outside pressures. You can pursue the life you've always dreamed of, unfiltered by anyone else's agenda. And as you build this life, you'll find yourself becoming more self-reliant, more grounded, and more confident in your ability to navigate the world. But here's the beautiful paradox. The freedom you gain from living alone doesn't isolate you. It actually prepares you to engage with the world in a healthier, more meaningful way. When you no longer rely on others to fulfill you, you approach relationships and experiences with a sense of abundance rather than neediness. You're free to give, love, and connect without losing yourself in the process. This inner freedom is the ultimate gift of solitude. It's a state of being that allows you to live with intention, clarity, and joy. And once you've tasted it, you'll realize that it's something no external relationship, no matter how wonderful, can ever replace. Conclusion: solitude as the ultimate path to freedom and growth. So there you have it. 9 reasons why living alone beats any relationship, according to Stoic wisdom. From prioritizing your inner growth and building emotional resilience, to gaining control over your environment and finding a deep sense of inner freedom. Solitude isn't something to fear. It's something to embrace. The Stoics taught us that the most important relationship we'll ever have is the one we have with ourselves. Living alone gives you the opportunity to nurture that relationship, to understand who you are at your core, and to build a life that aligns with your values. It's not about isolating yourself from the world. It's about empowering yourself to engage with it in a way that's authentic and fulfilling. If you're currently living alone, take this as a reminder of how powerful that experience can be. And if you've been hesitant to embrace solitude, consider this an invitation to give it a try. You might just discover that living alone isn't lonely. It's liberating. Remember, as the Stoics would say, happiness and freedom begin with a clear understanding of one principle. Some things are within your control, and some things are not. Living alone puts you in control of the one thing that truly matters, yourself. So, are you ready to embrace the strength of your solitude? The journey might just change your life.